So, welcome to my friend Ted Prodromou to Ordinary Visionaries. And so, as I said, Ted, the very first question we ask is, how do you see yourself as an ordinary visionary?
It's a great question because it really, when I started watching some of your past episodes, it really made me start thinking.
Yeah.
And I kind of went back to my beginning of my career. In 1980, I started fixing computers, and when most offices didn't even have computers, there were no fax machines even. So I got into the computer industry at the very beginning, where Silicon Valley was like almost nothing. And then I migrated into computer networking. I was being invented. Then I got into
We're doing what?
computer networking
Yeah.
as it was being invented.
As it was being invented. Yeah. I remember that.
Didn't exist. And then I got into the cellular industry, and I was like employee number 40 at Cellular One.
Wow.
And then I got into the internet stuff in 2000, the late 90s and 2000. So I have this knack. I didn't plan this, but every job I got, I was like way ahead of everybody else in technology.
Right.
Yeah. So it was a wild ride for 20 years. So I didn't plan being a visionary, but I just happened to end up at these great companies as this whole computer industry and networking industry was invented.
What was your educational background?
I went to school at University of Pittsburgh for 2 years. I didn't really like it, so I went to electronics school. Got a degree where they taught us what to do in the morning, and we built it in the afternoon. I absolutely loved that.
So that really gave you a good foundation to have confidence to do that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. Then eventually I got a degree in marketing from University of Phoenix, but...
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's been a wild ride, to say the least.
Yeah. So how does that fit into being a visionary? And, sometimes visionary is a little too highfalutin. We think of visionaries as people like Elon Musk and Steve Jobs and people like that. But, I coined the term ordinary visionary because most of us are never going to be that kind of visionary.
Right.
But, when you got into these jobs and then when did you become self-employed and really start to create your own thing?
It was the late 90s. I was like being a network manager and just very stressful job, obviously.
Yeah.
It's always have to go in late at night, always on call, blah, blah, blah.
This is the networking of computers in the office and all that stuff. And right.
So I was the first network manager at Cellular One. They had only 40 employees, and they had like 5,000 people had cell phones in the Bay Area.
Only 5,000 people.
Yeah, because they're built into your car, and they charge you an exorbitant fee every year, and then $1 a minute every time you used it. So it's very expensive. From in 6 years, they went from 40 employees to 1,200 employees, and they went from 2 offices to 24 offices.
Wow.
So it was like just crazy, hair on fire all the time. I'm always doing emergency work. And
is Cellular One even around anymore?
I don't know. There was a franchise name. So each city had their own franchise. So it wasn't even one big company. It was just a franchise name they licensed.
Right.
So in the 90s, this guy named Al Gore invented the internet. And getting on the internet back then, it was not easy. You didn't just get a router and plug it in and it configured. You had to actually, connect with this company that had pipes to the internet. Then you had to have a router, and you had to configure the router manually, and they had to configure their end. And it was very difficult. It was not easy.
Yeah. My first computer was 1986. I got a Mac Plus.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few years later, the internet didn't really come around, even email for about 10 years. So maybe I had another computer before I got on the internet. And then remember those we all had different modems, and they made all this, it dialed up through a phone line.
Right.
and got us on the
You
internet.
put the acoustic coupler, your handset in the acoustic coupler, and
I didn't have that.
yeah, that was like the beginning. You had your handset, literally.
Yeah. So we
So,
were all just, and then we all just traded up to the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And now we have this blistering fast internet video like we're doing right now.
right.
But,
But back in the late 90s, everybody was like, I got to get on the internet because, that's where the things are happening. They didn't even know what the internet was, but they said, I got to get connected.
yeah.
I knew how to configure the routers and talk to the phone company and get everything set up. And that's when I went out on my own. People just literally throwing money at me. Get me on the internet. Get me on the internet. And I didn't have to market. It was all word of mouth. I could charge whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
And that was just a great business for like 4 or 5 years. Then the .com crash hit in 2001.
Uh-huh.
And they made all the computers easier to fix. Instead of troubleshooting, you just swap the computer or you swap the network equipment. And then the routers got the auto configuring. You could just mail it to you and you plug it in and it configured itself.
Yeah.
So that career literally disappeared. And that's kind of when I met you. I become a certified coach because I loved mentoring my employees that worked for me. I had like 35 employees working for me at Cellular One eventually.
Oh, wow.
So they said, they had brought in these facilitators at Cellular One. And they were they weren't called coaches, but they were coaching us because we were growing so fast. And they're like, here's how you handle these employees, blah, blah, blah. I said, I love that. I love what they're doing. I'd love to become one of those coaches. So I got certified at Coaches Training Institute, which was about a mile from my house at the time.
Yeah. Well, the Coaches Training Institute was it used to be in the same office I was in downtown San Francisco. Laura Whitworth, Henry House, and Karen Kimsey.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that about you. So you connected with them after they'd moved out. They were in Marin, right? They had
Yeah. In San Rafael.
Yeah.
So I got certified as a coach, and I remember when I learned about you. It was 9/11. We were on one of our certification calls, and everybody's like glued to their televisions watching 9/11 play out.
Yes.
And somehow the conversation came on to this guy, Robert Middleton, teaches coaches how to market their practice. And that's when I got on your email list. It was 9/11.
Really? Yeah, I remember that morning, and that I had written my newsletter the night before. I think 9/11 was on a Tuesday. It must have been a Tuesday. And then someone emailed back, says, what do you think about this stuff that's going on in New York? And I hadn't watched the news or anything. And I don't know how I answered. And then an hour later, I found out about it. But anyway.
Yeah.
So that's how you found out about me on 9/11. Oh, that's very auspicious.
Yes.
And then you got on my newsletter. You probably bought my manual when I came out with that, and
Yep.
various things.
Enrolled in many of your courses, and we've become really good friends over the last 20 some years.
Yeah. We attended Macworld together a couple times. Not Macworld, Social Media Marketing World.
Right.
San Diego a couple times.
Yeah.
So things like that. So you became a coach, and ultimately, to jump ahead, I mean, the thing that you're known for now is being a LinkedIn marketing expert. You wrote one of the top books on that you've revised a few times, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how did that whole LinkedIn thing come about?
As I was learning marketing from you, and I started going to Dan Kennedy conferences, and then I met Perry Marshall. He was a Google AdWords expert right when it came out. He became one of the first experts.
Yeah.
So I bought his ebook, and kind of like I bought your marketing manual. And I started learning Google AdWords, and I started learning marketing and online marketing as it was evolving. Again, I was at the beginning of a whole nother industry that was developing. I didn't plan it. I just fell into it.
Yeah.
So I was learning this marketing, and then Perry Marshall wrote Ultimate Guide to LinkedIn, or Ultimate Guide to Google AdWords, and Ultimate Guide to Facebook Advertising for Entrepreneur Press.
Yeah.
Then I got into Perry's high-end coaching program. And one day I actually came home from work. I was on client calls or something, and I got a voicemail. And this guy said, "Hey, I'm Perry Marshall's agent. Would you like to write 2 books with him?" Because they
Those were
wanted
the
a book
turning
about,
point days, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
They had Ultimate Guide series, the Entrepreneur Press, which is Entrepreneur Magazine's publishing arm.
Uh-huh.
So the Ultimate Guide series, Perry had the 2 best-selling books ever. And they said, "Perry, we need a book about Twitter," which had just started up that year. "And we need one about LinkedIn."
Yeah.
So I called this guy up, and I think, these are my friends pranking me. Perry Marshall doesn't have an agent. And he said, it was funny because he said, "No, I really am Perry's agent. And then we want to write 2 books, but we can only offer you $25,000 advance for each book." Then I'm thinking, oh, they're really pulling my leg now. I'd never written a book in my life. I had no idea how to do that. So I ended up getting this book deal. I was supposed to co-author with Perry. And at the last minute, he said, "I'm too busy. Twitter's useless to me. So you just write that book. And I'm not even on LinkedIn. So you write that book. I'll write the foreword." And that's how I got 2 book deals with a big major publisher.
Wow. So being in the right place at the right time, connecting with the right people. I mean,
And
you've been
investing in high-end coaching. It was like $10,000 a year, I think, at the time when I was in Perry's coaching. It went up to $12,000.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that paid off many times over because I've written 3 versions of the LinkedIn book. I've been speaking around the world. I've taught, thousands of people how to use LinkedIn from that opportunity.
Yeah. So what's so great about LinkedIn?
Not much these days.
Well, that it's an interesting thing. I was reading an article. No, it was a video yesterday about the consolidation of streaming platforms and how advertising is now appearing on streaming. And we watched something on Hulu last night, and then there was ads on it, and it's like, what's going on here? So we see these things. We've seen the start of so many of these things, and then they change and they morph. And LinkedIn has been one of those things.
Yeah.
And they put in a feature, and it's there for a year, and then they take it out, and et cetera, et cetera.
Or they roll things out and it takes a year to roll it out. And by the time they roll it out to everybody, they pull it out from the other people. They end it.
Well, it was purchased by Microsoft, right? This is still,
Yeah.
yeah,
Almost 10 years ago now.
that long ago. Wow.
Yeah.
So,
I think it was 2016 they bought them.
yeah. Well, since you're kind of the expert, or definitely one of the experts on LinkedIn, we ought to just talk about it a little bit because, it's something. I'm kind of an outlier with some of this stuff. I mean, a lot of people like you jumped into all of this. I only dabbled in social media. I just focused on my list. That's all I did. Just my list. Just a regular thing to my list, and then I promoted things to my list, and that worked.
Yeah.
But social media, I felt like I was in a chasm trying to wave my hands and get attention, and I always felt like sort of an idiot,
Right.
I know you learned how to use it a lot better than I did. So I have an account. I just stopped using Facebook. I don't use Twitter anymore.
Yeah.
And now that I'm retired, I don't have to use any of this stuff.
Right.
But LinkedIn is powerful business to business in that, every business person on the planet is on it.
Right.
So it's a way to find people and connect with people.
That's what works. You think of it as, remember the Rolodex we had? We had our little Rolodex, and it had our personal network in there.
Yeah. The thing is, all the people they're all there, but they're still all strangers. You don't really know them. The only affiliation you have is the fact that you're on LinkedIn. So share us some of your insights into how LinkedIn can still work to connect people.
So I've gone full circle on this.
Okay.
When I wrote the first book 13 years ago now, I wrote the first Ultimate Guide to LinkedIn for Business. I only had 642 connections. And I was an occasional LinkedIn user. I didn't see a lot of value in it at the time. I was they
You
had,
wrote the book, but you didn't see a lot of value in it.
I did and I didn't. I got most of my business from it. So what I did, I kind of applied my networking skills to the book. This is what I do. If I met you in person, what would I say to you?
Yeah.
So instead of just blasting invitations to people, I just would be careful who I connected with. And I would connect obviously with my clients and former clients and coworkers and colleagues. But I wasn't reaching out to strangers that much at first. Then after my first book came out, it sold like 10,000 copies. And then I said, well, I got to get to the 30,000 limit because I'm a thought leader now in LinkedIn. So I started connecting with everybody.
Yeah.
And now I have over 25,000 connections.
Yes.
And it's
None of
just,
whom you really know.
no, very few.
Maybe some of them know you.
So now I hardly ever connect with people unless I meet them like on a podcast interview, or I meet them in person, or I meet them online in a group.
Yeah.
If I have some kind of correspondence with them or connection, I'll reach out and say, hey, I really enjoyed talking to you on Brian Kurtz's call. Let's connect. So I'm only connecting with people that I meet. It's kind of going back to full circle. Now, remember when I first started using LinkedIn, I was inviting people to connect. And one guy said, have we shaken hands in person? I said, no, we haven't. I just want to build my network. He goes, I only connect with people that I have shaken their hand and actually spoke to. And I thought, boy, you're wasting your effort here on LinkedIn then. You're missing a big opportunity. Now I'm back to that.
And yet when you go to try to link with someone, they say, do you know this person? So
Right.
They've always encouraged you to have met that person. So it isn't just this random,
Exactly.
everybody.
So LinkedIn kind of gives that, only connect with people you know, but then they encourage you to meet other people. So I really kind of use LinkedIn, and I'm the minority these days because the younger generation, we're the old Rolodex generation where we had our personal trusted network.
Yeah.
People today, they blast hundreds of messages a day at people, inviting them to connect with a sales pitch. And if you do connect, they just pummel you with sales pitches.
Yeah. And is there any evidence that really works? Or is it just noise?
It's just like cold calling. You call 1,000 people, you might get one person to take your offer. So you just it's a numbers game.
Well, there's these automation things that you can plug in that they're sort of black hat things, and that
right.
LinkedIn doesn't like them, but they can hide from LinkedIn, and you blast all these messages out.
And I tried those a few years ago. I figured, everybody else is doing it. Why shouldn't I?
Why not? I tried it too.
Yeah. I would blast messages at people, and then somebody would say, okay, let's get on a call. Then I would, they'd hire me to work with them. They were the worst clients ever because they were desperate. They didn't have much money. They're just looking for free help, basically, or really cheap. So I stopped doing that. I just went back to just post good content. I share my emails on LinkedIn as an article. And I do little blurbs, and I have a newsletter on LinkedIn. So I'm just publishing good content on there now.
Yeah.
And having conversations with people that I have actually spoken to on Zoom or met in meetings.
And have shaken their hands.
Right. Exactly.
Some of it's virtual. Good idea, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it works really well because I only get good clients that way.
Yeah. So it's visibility marketing, it's content marketing. And, I recommend everybody go to your website and sign up for your newsletter. I'll have the link for that. Ted is one of the few people who sends newsletter 5 days a week.
I've cut back to 2 or 3 now. I've got lazy lately.
You backed up a bit to 2 or 3? Yeah, that's probably enough. I've been doing 1 a week for my whole life practically, but and they're always just sort of stream of consciousness, and he has a really great format. It's 1 paragraph per sentence, and the sentence is usually just one width of the page. So it's just like one idea. So he says, the other day I was walking down the street and I saw a woman with her baby. And I thought, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like whatever you've been thinking of. And it's always fun to read.
Thank you.
And it's always interesting and it's kind of engaging. And you always make some kind of point about something for connecting with people or networking or doing your job or whatever it is.
It is 100% stream of consciousness.
Yeah. And I don't know if you just do one draft or you do one draft and you tweak it up a bit.
Fire away.
But it's really accessible, Well,
I used to write emails like, here's how you change your LinkedIn headline. Click here. And I put screenshots in. It's like so boring and nobody ever read them.
Yeah. So I don't get any other newsletters like yours.
Thank you.
I mean, mine might be the closest. I tell stories and et cetera, et cetera. I've done various styles over the year.
I've been on your email list since 2001 and I love it.
You've been around for a long time.
Yeah.
So, anyway, let's not get into everything about newsletters, but after a while, you're in people's email box. And now the thing we forget is that the largest percentage will never do anything, but you never know the processional effect, Now you met the people at Coaches Training Institute and they knew me and they referred me. It's people that you know. And you get the newsletter and you get it for 5 years. And then one day you say something and it's like, oh yeah, Ted. And then you call Ted and all of a sudden he's a client, right?
Right.
And so the sales process isn't.
Did you ever hear of Dean Jackson?
Who?
Dean Jackson. He's an incredible marketer. He's a big time. He does a
know.
lot with real estate people.
Uh-huh.
But he has a theory. He's sent millions of emails for clients and for himself.
Yeah.
And he says, I can't remember the exact number. Maybe it was like 12% of the people on your email list are ready to buy right now, like the minute they get on there. Then there's a certain percentage that are buy within a year.
Yeah.
And then 50% of your email list will never buy from you.
Yeah.
But they'll be on your email list and read your emails every day.
Yeah. And they might pass it on to other people, so you never know where it goes.
Right.
It wouldn't be unusual for me to have someone in my program that says, well, I've been on your list for 10 years.
Right.
And I hadn't bought anything. And then they, it was the right time that I made the right offer or whatever, and they signed up.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's a totally different world for me because when I was in the world of fixing computers and troubleshooting networks, I knew something was broken and I could do something and it fixed it immediately.
Yeah.
Marketing, you're just planting seeds and putting stuff out there constantly and you never know what really triggered them to say, I'm ready.
Yeah.
So it's really different for me. I struggle with that a lot because I like the on-off approach. Like, I know it fixed. I knew that computer works now.
You do some courses now, right?
Yeah.
Group programs that are done on Zoom?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I had a group for 7 years. We had a group that met. It was like twice a month. And then during the pandemic, we went to every week because we were all just sitting at home.
Yeah.
And it had 25 or 30 people show up every call.
Yeah.
And that's when I kind of had a realization last year. I was teaching them the wrong things. But they kept showing up.
What was that again?
They kept showing up to every call.
Yeah.
And they were totally engaged. They were asked questions in the call. But what happened is most of these people were like executives that are retired or they've been laid off and they're over 55. And they never did the hands-on work. They had people that did the work. So I was teaching them how to do all this technical stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just going over their heads. And I didn't realize it. They wouldn't say anything because they didn't want to be embarrassed.
Right.
They wanted to know what to do, and then they could have people do it for them.
Right.
that's when I had a big shift in my whole business model. Like, okay, I got to just teach them what to do and then refer people to them if they want help to do it.
Right.
It's like I just blew up that whole group. I let him stop doing the calls and stop charging people. I had over 100 people that paid me every month for that.
Oh, really? And you felt, oh, I'm not making a difference here?
Right. I felt like when I realized I was teaching them the wrong things, I felt so embarrassed, but I never said that to them because they couldn't ask
But now
questions.
it's on video, Ted. It's on video.
Right. So I stopped charging them. I just shut down the group and said, I'm going to revamp my business, really think about what I want to do.
Yeah. I've done a lot of groups, but I always call my groups action groups.
Mm-hmm.
And an action group is we learn something, I give you an assignment, you do it, you show me what you've done.
Right.
But it's hard too because if people are not doing something that they need to do, there's a reason for that. It's hard. Right. They don't know how to do it. They're resistant to it,
Marketing is hard. Marketing takes years to learn, or copywriting, or whatever.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I emphasized in my later years was just get meetings with people. Talk to people about what you were doing without any big agenda.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of, it's like people only know us sort of paper thin. They don't. But we have a conversation with them and all of a sudden, they understand better. But you're not even trying to sell them. You're just saying, hey, I want to let you know what I'm up to. Right. I'd like to know what you're up to.
I just did that a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, really?
I was getting kind of bored and I was like, well, let me just reach out to some people. And that's what I teach on LinkedIn. Start conversations, 1 or 2 conversations a day with somebody. Don't try to sell them anything. So I reached out to like some former clients and some friends.
Yeah.
And I got 5 new projects without even trying.
5 new projects. That principle works.
Like, just a little LinkedIn message saying, hey, how you doing? Let's have a call and catch up. Yeah. So there are people I knew and had worked with in the past, or I'd worked with, or we were friends. But the 5 out of like 15 conversations turned into clients.
Wow.
Now I have too much
work to the same realization in the same kind of way. It's just, I would say reach out with a really simple email, like, hey, I've been thinking of you. What's happening in your business? Let's chat sometime. So I say, write an email like that. And they say, before you send it out, send it to me to look at it. And then I'd see a 16-paragraph email.
Right.
It had nothing to do with, I said, no, I'm not kidding. 3 lines.
Yes.
Hey, I'd love to chat and catch up with you. How you doing? Got a time on Thursday or something?
Yep.
And those get response, a very high response, because you're not pitching, you're not trying to, but
we're all skimmers now too.
What's that?
We're all skimmers now. We don't read. We just skim on our phones. That's why I do this 1 line per on my emails, because they just skim through and one little word will catch them and then they'll read the rest.
Right.
So for the emails, like if you posted something on LinkedIn and I saw that, Robert hasn't posted in a while, you posted something, I'd read it. Then I reach out to say, hey, I really like what you said today. Let's catch up and give you my link to my calendar. Yeah. And it works. But exactly. You may not become a client from that 30-minute call or 15-minute call we do, but you say, I've got a person that needs your help, and you would refer me.
Yeah.
And people today, like, I don't have time to do all that. I need to get clients.
Yeah, but we forget that it's all about relationship and connection and human contact. You remember the old days, sort of pre-internet, we would meet people for lunch.
Right.
Let's get together. You belong to a networking group or a chamber of commerce, which I did, and then you'd get together with people and chat with them, and mm-hmm. You realize because there was no other way to make connections.
Right.
But now with this massive amount of connections, we've gone to the dark side.
Yeah.
which is send out. I still get these meaningless. I've looked at your website and I noticed there's a few technical issues that maybe, and they're even going to the website that isn't even my website anymore. So they haven't looked at my website.
Right.
They don't point out any particular thing. So it's a mass email.
Yep.
And it looks very generic, and it has no personality.
Right.
Nothing whatsoever.
I get messages all the time offering, you need help on LinkedIn? You want 20 to 30 appointments a week? Like, no, I don't want 20 to 30 appointments a week.
Yes, this thing of, we can get you these appointments of people ready to buy. It's a chimera. It doesn't happen. It doesn't work that way.
Right. And they make a lot of money selling those services, which frustrates me.
Yes. And
they're visionaries in the wrong way.
Yeah. So marketing is hard in a way, but in some ways it's kind of simple because we can all talk to people. We can all listen.
Right.
And people think selling is, I'm going to pitch you what I have.
Right.
As opposed to, what's going on? What are you struggling with right now? What's not working for you?
Yeah. And that's what's happened to LinkedIn with this automated software. They're just selling instead of listening and getting long-term clients that'll keep coming back, and then they'll refer their people.
Yeah. So even though you're the expert on this LinkedIn thing, you're really getting down to, you're going back to the basics of just good information and then direct communication.
Human conversation. What a concept.
What a concept. So
I always say that too. Like, I'll go on a rant when I get too many messages, and I'll say, when you're actually having these conversations with people on LinkedIn, it's another person at the other end. It's not a bot. So you blasting messages at them actually turns them off. But if you reach out and just say, hey, I like what you posted, or, do you need any help, or what's going on? Let's catch up.
Yeah.
It works. You get long-term clients. I have one client I've worked with almost 20 years.
What?
Yeah. They've come and gone, but they're just good, steady customers. Little projects, but
yeah,
we built a relationship from a referral almost 20 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So you don't know any of this anymore. You're retired, right? But think about how many years did it take you to get good at marketing? You were been in marketing your whole career, right?
It took me I started in 1984. I wrote my manual in 1999. Mm-hmm. So that's 15 years. And, I'm of the school of try anything. And if it doesn't work, change. Try something else. Read a book. Try that. And, just try a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And, I fell for a lot of gimmicks, Yeah. And
we were in some of the same programs.
Right. And, I attended, 6, 7, 8, I can't remember, online marketing workshops.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, I got 80% of what I needed from the very first one I attended.
Yeah.
I learned basically, and I'd learned a lot of that myself because I read a lot of books.
Mm-hmm.
I was lucky enough to this was really, in some ways, the thing that made me successful is I worked on keywords on the simplest possible way.
Yeah.
My keyword was marketing plan. And I really optimized my site for marketing plan. And I got to the top page of Google for about 5 years.
I remember that.
And that's how a lot of people joined my email list.
Yeah.
And my email list grew because people were looking for marketing ideas. And
right.
No one else was doing it for self-employed professionals back then. So, but then at a certain point, it just got impossible to get to the front page of Google. I mean,
Hmm.
people would send you a $50,000 course to teach how to do
Right.
that. And whether that even worked, I don't know. But
No,
I
they
got there
usually got you
organically
banned.
in the early days, and, after that after that I had momentum,
Right.
and I built my list and I started doing my courses and stuff like that. And I had enough business for 20 years.
Yeah.
So,
I tell people it's marketing's a journey. It's not a destination. They'll say, hey, I need help with LinkedIn, or I want to run some ads. And they want to run ads and spend $500 for 1 month. Like, yeah, but you got to do it consistently. Marketing it's a continuous effort. And you got
yeah,
to keep planting seeds, and you never know which one's going to come and sprout. But you just got to keep putting it out there, and that right person at the right time shows up.
yeah,
And you got to measure it. Like you said, try something. If it doesn't work, adjust it.
yeah. I mean, I had certain ideas for certain courses, and I thought it was the best idea since, sliced bread, but no one responded.
Right.
But, I was also lucky enough at a certain time to offer my mastery course, my most
Mm-hmm.
expensive course, and people signed up in droves.
Right.
And, I put a lot into that, and that put me over the top, and I started saving a lot of money, and it really worked. That's when after I'd moved here to Boulder Creek.
Mm-hmm.
So, I got to this place where I never met anybody in person unless they were a client. I
Right.
mean, I didn't go to networking. I didn't do social media. I sent out my things. And so I was very narrow and very focused in promoting what I was promoting.
Yep.
And,
Your message was very consistent, and I knew every Tuesday morning I'd wake up and there'd be an email from you with some good information.
every Tuesday.
Yeah.
Till the day I die.
Right. And that's the key to good marketing and building a business, consistency.
Yeah. I'd be interested to know your take on it. When I started to write the newsletter, it really transformed my life in that and my business in that because I was writing about marketing, I was always looking for ideas. And when you write about something, you understand it better.
Yeah.
And you write about it over and over from a lot of different aspects, you start to really own that information.
Mm-hmm.
And then you become better at teaching that information. And then it all sort of comes together. And it's hard for me to understand why people don't understand that.
Right.
They don't that being in touch like that. So people say, well, I don't have anything to say.
Yeah.
And I would say, well, write a list of 20 problems your clients have. And for each problem, write a little article.
Mm-hmm.
And how you solve that or ideas around that. But
Right.
that's, so I helped a lot of people start newsletters. But you ever get the sense that, well, it's easy for me. That doesn't mean it's necessarily easy for somebody else.
Yeah.
Because
They struggle.
I'm just not a good writer or I'm not whatever. We have so many thoughts zipping around that are in conflict for what we want. And so the thing that makes you and me similar in terms of ordinary visionary is we just tried stuff.
Right.
Had a vision, had an idea. Oh, let's try it, see if it works.
Yeah.
I want to help people. So I want to see if this works. And if it didn't work, you probably went, oh, well.
Yeah.
You even took a big thing that was kind of successful and you went, oh, well, that's not doing what I want anymore. I got to go back to the drawing board.
Right.
And create something that's better that really helps people.
I think what makes us different from other marketers, we would admit that we failed. We're like, I tried this. I thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. Totally bombed. So I did this, and this is what worked.
Yeah, and you learn
These
something.
internet marketers are like, I can 10x your leads. I can get you 30 leads a day. Pay me $5 million and I can guarantee success. Like, I signed up
Yeah,
for so many things that they guaranteed I would make my money back in 30 days. Never made a penny, and they wouldn't give me back my money.
right. So there's a lot of malpractice in the field of marketing these days. Get you 30 leads a day, but they couldn't get 30 leads a day to save their soul. So it's just
Right.
BS.
Or I run into people that
Yeah.
people help authors sell more books. Like, have you written a book? They're like, no, I've never written a book. And how do you know how to market a book if you've never wrote a book? Or somebody's trying to help. I met a woman the other day. She says, oh, I help people sell more courses. Like, okay, what's your course? Show me see your course. Can I take your course? And, oh, I don't have a course.
I don't have a course. Yeah. There's a couple guys. They're brothers. Um, they're the Mickelson brothers, and they have a company called Publishing.com. And those guys know what they're doing, and they've self-published a zillion books and teach people how to do it. And they have a
Yeah.
course and tons of support and, lots of success. So there are some people that really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And, but it's few and far between,
It's the
unfortunately.
needle in a haystack.
Yeah. So if anybody is looking for writing a book, that's something definitely to check out.
So I looked at
I joined the
LinkedIn last week.
course and then I retired.
Yeah. Well, last week I was doing some research. In 2020 in February, I spoke at a conference that had a lot of coaches. There
Yeah.
was 2 million coaches on LinkedIn.
Wow.
I looked the other day, there's 6.5 million coaches on LinkedIn now.
Wow.
And there's 64 million people with marketing in their LinkedIn profile.
How many?
64 million.
64 million. Yeah.
How many really know what they're doing?
Yeah.
So,
Well, maybe in 100 years there'll be I don't know. It's the kind of thing that marketing changes so much that even if you've got a PhD in marketing, I've had people that were marketers for big companies, but they couldn't market their own services. They couldn't get their own clients.
yeah.
So I found that this whole niche of self-employed professionals was a good one for me because that was who I was. That's what I was always working on. So I was always teaching what I had learned for myself. And people that are extremely intelligent, that had many degrees, but they couldn't get clients.
Right. Yep. It's not easy. But the tools change for marketing, but it comes down to a person talking to a person, building a relationship, and doing business together.
Yeah.
I tell a lot of people I can't help them. I turn down a lot of business. And some of the big internet marketers, you're leaving millions of dollars on the table. I said, yeah, but I couldn't help them. I'm not going to put them into debt. And you've seen those, probably 20 years ago now. They would have a $5,000 coaching program. And you go through their, webinar funnel and you go get on a call with a call center in Utah. And these people are saying they can use other people's money. Get a credit card. Do you have a credit card? We're going to put $5,000 on this credit card and you're going to make it back in 3 months. And if they didn't have a credit card, they would sell them a credit card and then take a cash advance of $5,000 out. And 99% of these people, the FTC finally cracked down on all this stuff.
Uh-huh.
They were ripping people off for millions of dollars a year and they're perfectly fine with it. They said they were selling them hope. That's what they would say. We're selling you hope. If you don't do anything with this opportunity, it's your fault, not ours.
Yeah, what if doctors did that? Well, they used to, and a long time ago. It was called, snake oil salesman.
Right.
And we still use that term. So we're selling snake oil, i.e. we're giving them hope, but we really don't have anything real to offer them.
Yeah. Yeah, it just makes me, I just can't do that to people.
No. Yeah. So, did, it's great talking to you because we're, in similar places. We've gone through similar paths. We work with small businesses, et cetera, et cetera. So, the often the biggest issue for me, and I talked about this on another interview with Lion Goodman. This whole thing about people being stuck in implementing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like these things work. You can do them. You got to stick to it.
Right.
But people are have a lot of fear about getting out there.
Yeah.
Have you bumped into that a lot?
A lot.
And what do you do to help them?
The technology's changed, and I tried to help people for years, and then they wouldn't want to pay me enough. Like, I can't afford you, or I don't have money to buy this technology. Like, how many businesses started and didn't have a marketing budget to get the word out? Most of these small business owners don't have a marketing budget. So there's like Go High Level is a new platform that's out that everybody's raving about. It's like done for you stuff.
What's it called?
Go High Level.
Go High Level.
So I have a friend he actually had, remember when AWeber came out?
Yeah.
2000 or whenever that was? He had his own company, the email marketing platform that he sold a few years ago. So he's starting a new business where he's going to build funnels for people for $397 a month. They'll build you the landing page. They'll help you with the copy, and it's ready to go. You just create the content, and they do the rest for you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start sending people there instead of trying to teach technology to people that aren't going to understand it. I'm going to help them focus on their message and writing content, or positioning themselves to be unique, and keep the technology. Like, it's my wife. She's a nurse practitioner for 40 years. She's very intelligent. I put her in front of a computer, IQ drops 50 points. She cannot figure out.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somehow, I'm not sure how I did it. Because what I did is I bought a book called How to Create a Website in a Week with HTML. And because I didn't know that was impossible, a week later I had a website. And the week after that, I was designing websites for people.
Mm-hmm.
So HTML is not the hardest programming language, but I've never done any kind of programming whatsoever.
Right.
And hold on a second. I'll edit this out of the video. My dog just visited me.
Oh.
Hey, beautiful. How you doing? Just a second. Oh, let him stay there. Okay, you can stay there, but no barking, okay?
No barking.
Yeah, I'll give you a treat. Here you go. He comes in here and I give them treats every day, and if I don't give it to them, well, they deserve it, so they start barking until I give it to them.
Yeah.
Anyway, so so the whole technology thing, so I found I'm not really good at that, but I can follow instructions, go step by step, and I'm very persistent until I make it work.
Yeah.
But for some people, it's like hitting a brick wall.
Right.
Designing a website, most people simply can't do that.
Yeah.
Just, it's beyond their capability. And then finding the technical expertise to do it at a reasonable price is often a very daunting experience, because you know nothing about it.
Right.
How do you know they're good at it? And some people are, obviously, and
yeah.
So it can be overwhelming. So just putting a newsletter together, I didn't find too hard to do, but some people it's like, that's just the brick wall. We can't figure it out.
So I'm trying to get out of the teaching world like you. I don't want to teach anymore. I'm kind of shifting my whole business, because I realized most of those people on my weekly calls were over 55 or 60. They had successful careers. They've been aged out of the workforce, but they want to keep engaged. They want to stay active mentally more than anything.
Yeah.
So I'm putting together some kind of community for this group. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to look like yet. Somebody said make it like masterclass.com where you have a bunch of different tracks of experts. So I would interview you about marketing and you'd have your little segment on there. It's just more informational. If they want to watch those, great.
Yeah.
Or do you want to just have a group call, a Zoom call once a month with a group of people? You can just talk about stuff.
Yeah.
I talk to all my friends. I say, he goes, I don't know what to do with my life. I'm 60 years old. I'm going to be 66 in a couple weeks. What am I going to do for the next 20 years? Someone challenged me, like, what are you doing for the next 20 years? I said, well, I'm not going to be alive maybe in 20 years. I said, no, you need to plan what you're going to do mentally and physically for the next 20 years. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. Because we have a lot of friends passing away and getting sick. And it's like, we got to stay active. We see mentally and physically.
Yeah.
So I'm calling it Epic Encore.
Epic Encore.
So it's not the end, it's the beginning of your next chapter after the corporate world, because people lose their identity. I'm finding the emotional stress of leaving, even on your own terms.
Yeah.
You don't have calls all day long. You don't have people to talk to. You're home alone or you're at the golf course.
Yeah.
I find it's very fascinating doing this research and all this psychological, and I'm going through it myself.
Yeah.
So it's like perfect. I can help these people and they can help me. It's a win-win.
Yeah. That's interesting. I'm looking at once I have, I've done, by the end of April, I'll have done 31 interviews. And my goal is within a year to have 100 interviews. So I think I can hit that. I'm doing 2 a week, so it shouldn't be too hard to do.
This is our legacy project.
Yeah, it's a legacy project. But then I'm thinking, well, what's the possibility for the people that I've interviewed and connected with them? And I don't know. So I love this. I love that idea of finding something like that because, some people have no problem with retirement.
Right.
I don't think my dad had a problem with retirement. He was an Air Force officer for the Air Force career. And then he became a stockbroker.
Mm-hmm.
And then he retired. And he just hung out and read all day,
Yeah.
Stuff like that. He was fine with that.
Yeah.
He didn't have any angst about that. I don't know. I couldn't, I don't know.
Yeah.
But when you're self-employed and, it's different. Well, he was self-employed as a stockbroker. But when you're self-employed, you like doing stuff. You like doing projects. You like connecting with people. You like ideas and,
Right.
like the interaction, not just the passivity of reading a book or watching videos or whatever it is.
Yeah, I did some Facebook ad testing. I learned this from a guy.
Yeah.
You test phrases with ads. It's not about getting people to opt in and selling them stuff.
Yeah.
My assumption was you're 55 or 60, you just got laid off, you have no income coming in, you got to make money. Or you want to start a consulting practice.
Yeah.
Those phrases nobody ever clicked on. They clicked on ones that they want to maintain their skills, they want to stay relevant, be part of something meaningful, and feel like they're contributing.
Ah.
So I'm using all this in my marketing. I'm putting together a lot of research. There's a lot going on with people after they lose their jobs. And I realized 3 times in 20 years, my whole career and job was upset. Totally wiped out. The dot-com crash, 2008.
Yeah.
And I got a job for a couple of years as a marketer. We quadrupled their revenue and they laid us all off because they brought in an agency. So all those things, I was kicked out on not my terms. Like nobody gets a job now, retires on their terms. Usually it's like, hey, your job's ending. We're going to replace you with a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
So that whole emotional thing as I'm doing this research, like, wow, that's why I feel like I'm, wasn't complete. I didn't get to choose when I left those jobs or that business I had. My business has evolved 3 times in 20 years. So it's like I'm finding talking to a lot of people about this, like, wow, yeah, we're all going through this. And how can we end our careers or feel like we're useful and engaged until we pass away? So it's kind of interesting. A whole new angle on my business.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. As you grow older and you grow in experience, and you don't want to keep doing the same thing forever with LinkedIn, but you've got a big network. A lot of people will like and trust you. So,
Yeah.
the ordinary visionaries. I invited people, and I just got people signing up in droves to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So there was definitely an interest in that.
Yeah.
And here's the interesting thing, though. I don't know if you need to make money anymore, if your investments are okay, so that you could be, I was lucky enough that I could do that, which
Right.
is when I think of my, you know, non-sophisticated investment strategy, I'm very lucky in a lot of ways. But uh, it excites me to think about stuff I can do that I will not charge money for. I don't want to charge money for it. So when you remove the having to earn money, it makes it into like a hobby. Like, I've had a hobby as a jazz collector for 50 years. So
Yeah.
I don't make any money at that, but I'm passionate about it. I listen to jazz all the time. I buy a lot of albums.
Yeah.
So this idea of doing something and not having to earn money from it is kind of a fun deal.
It's nice to have some money coming in because you never know. But yeah, I'm
Yeah,
at that position. And a lot of the people I had attracted, I wasn't looking for these people, but they're okay financially. So it is about a legacy or being engaged and helping other people, giving back.
yeah, yeah,
It's a great place to be.
yeah. But I think you're really onto something because um, and they might pay something for it, but it doesn't have to be a huge amount of money. Obviously, people that have paid something are a little more serious about it, even if it's only $50 a month.
Yeah.
Something like that. But to challenge people, what's your project? What are you going to take on? What's a legacy you're going to leave? What's the difference you're going to make? Can you do stuff in the community?
Right.
And it's like there's so many options, but talking to people about it and hearing about other people what they're doing could really inspire people to have a great retirement.
Yeah. There's a website I came across doing my research, wonderdads.com.
Wonder Dads?
So it's basically you sign up and they give you tips on here's 10 things you can do with your child this weekend. And people are paying $99 a year for this. And they have over 100,000 people who have been customers.
Really? That's great.
Yeah. So I'm thinking
That's
build
great.
something like that where I can charge a nominal fee so people stay engaged. And one guy said, yeah, if you get 5,000 people paying you $99 a year, that's okay retirement money.
Well, it's a very good income. Yeah.
And it's not about that. Like you said, we're at that point we don't have to make a lot of money to survive anymore.
Yeah.
So, but we want something to do. Maybe someone to guide us. Hey, here's 10 things you can do as a senior citizen this weekend.
Yeah.
So I feel good about it. It like refreshed me because I was getting bored with doing LinkedIn for 15 years now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Well, I
people weren't
definitely
taking
like to
action
hear
and giving
more
reasons.
about that. Maybe there's some cross pollination we can do on that and let people on my list know about that because,
Right.
um, yeah, I love not having to work. So, yesterday afternoon, I was just watching videos all afternoon. It was like, that's fine. I didn't feel guilty.
Right.
I can read. I can, I'm semi busy doing this. I have to do the recordings and do the production on them and get them up and do some writing, but it's
Right.
not, it's not a full-time job.
Right.
And I don't have to work till midnight to get the work out or anything like that.
And
So
we're lucky because we built businesses that let us be in this position.
yeah, yeah. And now I have the skills and the technical skills and the communication skills to be able to do it quickly and easily. I created a system. I created, processes that, you know, that just works. I I finally said, how am I going to do these interviews? And I woke up one morning, oh, I know. Just do 2 a week on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday at 10 a.m. Do it within my schedule. And
Right.
then I've done the interview and I have the rest of the day open, and, so we can figure things out like this. And, but everybody's different. Some people
Yeah.
wouldn't want to do anything like this, but there's so many possibilities. And to get people together to explore that I think would be a great thing, Ted. I think it would
People
be
really
great.
want to give back at this stage of life. It's kind of like
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
the people
yeah,
I want to attract.
yeah,
And I've
definitely.
been attracting, not even trying to, just by being myself in my marketing and putting my social media out there. I've attracted like-minded people.
Yeah,
So why not give them more of what they're looking for at this stage of life?
yeah,
If you want to build a $1 million business, I can't help you. I don't want to teach you that anymore.
right. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So, yeah, we want more just fulfillment in the moment.
Right.
Maybe it's delving into a spiritual practice, or who knows? I mean, there's endless
Right.
possibilities.
Or going to have coffee with 3 or 4 friends once a week.
Yes. I joined a poker group with a friend.
There you go.
It's once a month we play poker, and it's a bunch of great crusty old guys, and we really have fun.
Yeah.
I mean, stuff like that.
I just joined a Monday morning golf club, a senior citizen golf club.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. It's a small course here. It's only 9 holes. So they get together, they play golf for 2 hours, and then they go have lunch together.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
My dad played golf every twice a week for his whole life, and he could never get me into it.
Yeah.
To his great disappointment.
My father-in-law retired and played golf 5 days a week for 30 years till he passed away.
5 days a week. Well,
And he was happy.
yeah.
So,
Well, Ted, it's really been fun chatting with you about this. All these interviews are a little bit different, but just, the commonalities and what we've done and stuff like that. It's great to swap stories about that.
yeah.
I'm not sure what people will get out of this. I'm not too worried about it, but, probably people can relate to what we're talking about and how we just kept on keeping on. The themes I see is very similar to me. It's like you tried something and that ended, and then you look for the next thing you can make a difference with, and you did that, and then these great opportunities came to you.
Right.
I just want to mention I had a bit of an opportunity like that. Someone saw my newsletter, and they'd started a website, and they wanted content for their website. This was like more than 20 years ago, and they say, we'll pay you $1,000 per article. Nobody pays you $1,000 an article anymore. And so I said, you must be a well-funded startup. And they said, yes, we are. So I said, okay, fine. So I wrote, I think, 6 really good in-depth articles on what I knew about marketing. And they put it on their site, and thousands of people saw it. And that helped my subscriber base.
Yeah.
I remember one person saying, oh, I went to guru.com. I found your article. I've been a subscriber. She signed up for my $10,000 program.
Yeah.
Way back when. So, but if you're out enough, things will come to you.
Right.
Sooner or later.
Be yourself and be honest.
Be yourself, be honest.
Not that hard.
Have fun.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And enjoy the moment. Enjoy, so much of life is when I get there, then I'll be happy.
Right.
When this, when that. And I was in that game for a long time until I worked with some smarter people than me that straightened my head out.
We always used to think we have to learn, make more, or keep learning. It's like, no, just figure out what you really need to be happy in life.
Right.
Yeah. So, well, this has been great. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah. I'm thrilled about your successes and your fulfillment and your satisfaction and your, you're kind of a relaxed guy like me,
Yeah. You created a monster with this marketing stuff, getting me hooked on it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did. Boy, it's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
Yeah.
We'll be in
Same.
touch more. I really want to hear more about this thing you're up to.
Great. Thanks.
Okay, sir. Thank you and have a great day.
See ya.
Okay.